Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a underrated YA fantasy video according to you all. So a couple weeks ago I did this for adult fantasy books where I asked you all on my community tab, what is one underrated fantasy book or series that you wish more people would talk about? And I got so many amazing answers on that community post that I had to split it out into separate videos because some were young adult, some were adult. So now we are doing the young adult version of that video. So I have quite a few books to go through. If the one that you recommended on that post isn't featured in this video, don't fret because I will be doing more episodes of these videos if you guys like them, because I got so many good ones that this video would just be forever long if I went through every single one. So the next one I do is going to be probably in another couple weeks, going over more adult fantasy, and then another YA one will follow. So without further ado, let's just get into what you all recommended as underrated young adult fantasy books. The first book, I know that this is Vish from BookswithV, one of her favorite books and series of all time. If you haven't checked out her channel, I'm going to link it down below because she's awesome. And it is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. So this one has been on my radar for quite a while now because I have heard a couple people talk about it and love it. It is a really long series. I believe in total it is 6 books, which is pretty long for a YA series. But it says that the premise is about a girl who is about to be executed for murder and is instead offered the position of being the food taster for this commander. And so she has to basically be at risk of getting poisoned every time she tastes food and gets studied in the art of detecting poisons. And it just sounds really, really cool. And then I think it gets like a lot more complex and big and vast and epic as the series goes on. But that's the initial premise for the first book. And I think it sounds awesome. I know Vish loves it. I know other people have loved this series as well. So this is definitely on my radar. And if you haven't heard of it, maybe this one sounds intriguing to you. Next book that someone recommended and commented was The Weight of Feathers by Anna Marie McLemore. So I know that this one is more of a magical realism type fantasy, so a little bit more grounded in reality. And I know Anna Marie McLemore has written so many other very popular books like Wild Beauty, Dark and Deepest Red, and a lot of others. So this author has been on my radar for a while, but someone specifically recommended Weight of Feathers. And it says, for 20 years, the Palomas and the Corbios have been rivals and enemies locked in an escalating feud for over a generation. Both families make their living as traveling performers in competing shows. The Palomas swimming in mermaid exhibitions, the Corbios former tightrope walkers performing in the tallest trees they can find. Wait, this sounds really cool. Lace Paloma may be new to her family's show, but she knows as well as anyone that the Corbios are pure magia negra, black magic from the devil himself. Simply touching one could mean death, and she's been taught from birth to keep away. But when disaster strikes the small town where both families are performing, it's a Corbo boy, Cluck, who saves Lace's life, and his touch immerses her in the world of Corbos, where falling for him could turn his own family against him, and one misstep could be just as dangerous on the ground as it is in the trees. So I know that Anna Marie McLemore has like a very whimsical, flowery type writing style, is what I've heard. And this sounds really, really magical. I definitely have been wanting to give this author a try, and this one does sound really good. So if you like more of a romantic, magical realism type fantasy, this one might be right up your alley. The next one I've definitely heard of. It is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This one was everywhere a couple years ago when it first came out in 2018. Everyone was talking about it and how awesome it was, and I have been wanting to read it since its release, but I heard that the second book was not quite as good. Maybe that's a minority opinion. I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about the second one, so I do think that the series overall so far is underrated. It just isn't finished yet. But this one is definitely more of an epic fantasy about a young girl named Zealy who is going after magic that has been stolen from her and her people, and it's set in this very African-inspired fantasy world world, which just sounds so magical. The cover's gorgeous. I've definitely been wanting to read this one, and I definitely have heard of it before. So I know that the first book was very hyped. I just haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about the sequel. So if you've read the sequel, let me know what you thought. But this is definitely one that is on my list of ones to read soon. The next one that someone recommended is one that I haven't heard of before. It's called Beautiful Blue World by Suzanne LaFleur. This one sounds like it's more middle grade rather than young adult, so just a little bit younger. But it says that it's about a 12-year-old named Matilde whose home is basically at war, and for her that means food shortages, feuding neighbors, and bombings. Even so, as long as she and her best friend Megs are together, they'll be all right. But the army is recruiting children and paying families well for their service. If Megs takes the test, Matilde knows she will pass. Megs hopes the army is the way to save her family. Matilde fears it might separate them forever. A reimagining of war where even kindness can be a weapon and children have the power to see what adults cannot. Wow, this sounds really powerful. It sounds beautiful. It sounds like more of a historical fiction type fantasy. It doesn't say which specific war, if it's following a specific war, but that's definitely the setting nonetheless. This sounds gorgeous. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this before, but wow, this sounds like it would really pack a punch and result in a lot of emotions being felt. So I feel like I definitely want to read this one now just because of how beautiful and powerful it sounds. My goodness. The next one that someone commented was the Premonition series, which starts with a book called Inescapable by Amy A. Bartol. This is more of a paranormal fantasy, which is not my typical go-to genre. I haven't really read much paranormal fantasy at all. But this one says, my name is Evie Claremont, and this was to be the making of me my freshman year of college. I'd been hoping that once I'd arrived on Crestwood's campus, the nightmare that I've been having would go away. It hasn't. I may be an inexperienced 17-year-old, but I'm grounded, sane. I look for rational explanations to even the strangest circumstances. Since meeting sophomore Reed Wellington, however, nothing makes any sense. Whenever he's near, I feel an attraction to him, a magnetic kind of force pulling me towards him. Okay, so this sounds like it is definitely heavy on the romance. It sounds like it is an angels type of paranormal fantasy romance. This one definitely sounds intriguing. If this is a genre that you are typically attracted to, it sounds like this is definitely a good one to check out. It's got a really good rating on Goodreads and quite a lot of ratings actually, so I'm surprised I haven't heard of it before, but it looks like there's 5 books total in this series. So maybe not my cup of tea, but definitely if you like paranormal fantasy, this sounds like it's a good one. The next book that was recommended was Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. So I know that Elle from Elliot Brooks, her channel, she's talked about this series and really enjoyed it. I'm gonna link her channel down below if you somehow aren't following her yet. And then I also know that Brittany from Books with Brittany, whose channel I will also link down below, I think she's also really enjoyed this series. Brittany, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember you liking this one. So this one I've heard a couple people actually really enjoy, and I know that it's very tropey, but it's apparently just like a really good, fast-paced escape type of fantasy, which is so nice in between some of those bigger epic fantasy series that, you know, a lot of us are reading. It's nice to just have like an easy, fun, tropey kind of read. Like, there is nothing wrong with fun, tropey reads. So this one says it is about a girl named Theodosia who was 6 when her country was invaded, and her mother, the Fire Queen, was murdered before her eyes. On that day, the Kaiser took Theodosia's family, her land, and her name. Theo was crowned Ash Princess, a title of shame to bear in her new life as a prisoner. So this one sounds awesome, and it's definitely been on my radar to read for quite a while now, especially since the trilogy is now complete for this book. So I definitely want to read this one soon because it just sounds like a really good time. The next book I have that was recommended is called The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. So this one I've also heard of, but I kept thinking it was adult fantasy, and it's not. It's young adult fantasy. It says, the king's scholar, the magus, believes he knows the site of an ancient treasure. To attain it for his king, he needs a skillful thief, and he selects Jen from the king's prison. The magus is interested only in the thief's abilities. What Jen is interested in is anyone's guess. Their journey toward the treasure is both dangerous and difficult, lightened only imperceptibly by the tales they tell of the old gods and goddesses. So this I've actually heard a lot of good things on as well. I think Reagan over at the PeruseProject, her channel, I think she's talked about this series and really enjoyed it. It looks like it's 6 books in total, and it is a complete series, I believe, at this point. So this is definitely one that's also been on my radar for quite a while, I think because of her channel, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm gonna link Reagan's channel down below if you don't, again, if you somehow don't follow her. She's great. So I've definitely been wanting to read this one, and if you've read it, definitely let me know what you thought of it. The next one I have heard talked about a little bit, and it is called A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. So this one was originally published in French and has since been translated into English. And it says, long ago, following a cataclysm called the Rupture, the world was shattered into many floating celestial islands. Known now as arcs, each is developed in distinct ways. Each seems to possess its own unique relationship to time, such that nowadays vastly different worlds exist together but apart. And over all of the arcs, the spirit of an omnipotent ancestor abides. Wow, this sounds really good. So I actually wasn't totally aware of what this one was about, but I just kept seeing the cover pop up everywhere, and it's such a gorgeous cover. This one sounds really cool. I love the idea of these floating celestial islands, and it sounds like each of them play with time in a different way. I love that. That sounds awesome. So it sounds like it's got a little bit of a steampunk feel to it. So this sounds really cool. It is a 4-book series, complete now. So this is definitely one that I want to read very soon. If you've read it, let me know what you thought. The next one, I smile because I know Elle loves this book to pieces. She even features it on her Instagram every single Friday, and it is Fireborne by Rosaria Munda. I have been wanting to read this since she reviewed it on her channel. I'm gonna link that review down below because it's excellent. This has been definitely on like my top priority list because it just sounds so awesome. It says it's about Annie and Lee, who were just children when a brutal revolution changed their world, giving everyone, even the lowborn, a chance to test into the governing class of dragon riders. Say no more. Dragon riders. Elle loves it. This is just everything that I love. And I know that Elle said it was very like political in nature, more so than she had seen in a lot of other YA fantasies. So that just sounds so good because I love political fantasies. Dragons, just all the yes, and it came out last year, so it is a newer release, and I think it's going to be 3 books in total. So I'm very excited to get to this one. The next one that someone recommended is called Entwined by Heather Dixon Walwork. So this one says it is a fairy tale retelling. It says it is a romance type of fantasy. It says just when Azalea should feel that everything is before her, beautiful gowns, dashing suitors, balls filled with dancing, it's taken all away, all of it, and Azalea is trapped. The keeper understands. He's trapped too, held for centuries within the walls of the palace, so he extends an invitation. Every night, Azalea and her 11 sisters may step through the enchanted passage in their room to dance in his silver forest, but there is a cost. The keeper likes to keep things. Azalea may not realize how tangled she is in his web until it is too late. Ooh, this sounds very fairy tale like. I love the sound of it. It sounds very magical. So this one definitely sounds like it's underrated. And I'm surprised I haven't heard of it because again, it has a lot of ratings on Goodreads. So this one, if you like your fairy tale retellings, it sounds like this is a very dark and magical one. I really like the sound of it. All right, a couple more since, again, this video, I don't want it to be too long. The next recommendation that I got was the medoran, I think is how you say it, medoran? I don't know. I'm sorry. The Medoran Chronicles. It starts with a carne. Oh my God, I'm probably butchering this. I have a picture of it up, so hopefully you can read it for yourself. So this one says, with just one step, Alexandra Jennings' world changes literally. Dreading her first day at a new school, Alex is stunned when she walks through a doorway and finds herself stranded in Medora, a fantasy world full of impossibilities. Desperate to return home, she learns that only a man named Professor Marcel can help her, but he's missing. While waiting for him to reappear, Alex attends a carne academy, Medora's boarding school for teenagers with extraordinary gifts. Oh, this sounds really cute. It sounds like it's definitely more of a like portal fantasy, kind of like a Narnia type fantasy, and it sounds like it has a school setting. So if that is up your alley, this sounds like a really cute one. I love the sound of that. And it looks like it is 5 books and it's a completed series. I love noting that series are completed because I've been trying to read series that are completed so that I'm not waiting forever for the next book in a series, because that's a bummer. I hate waiting. So it's nice to have completed series recommended. Hopefully this one sounds really interesting to you. All right, the next one is definitely on my list, and I just haven't gotten to it yet, but it is high up on my list, and it is The Earthsea Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin. I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I know a lot of people love it, so I don't know if I would consider it underrated. I guess not every channel talks about it, but I have seen quite a few, so it might just be the ones that I'm following. But the Earthsea Cycle starts with the Wizard of Earthsea, and I know that this is like a classic young adult fantasy. It says, Ged, the greatest sorcerer in all of Earthsea, was called Sparrowhawk in his reckless youth. Hungry for power and knowledge, Sparrowhawk tampered with long-held secrets and loosed a terrible shadow upon the world. This is the tale of his testing, how he mastered the mighty words of power, tamed an ancient dragon, and crossed death's threshold to restore the balance. Yes. It sounds super epic. I definitely want to read this. I know that it's 6 books in total, and I think that there's like a stunning edition of it that's out there that's illustrated. If I can find the picture of it, I will put it right here. Yes, definitely on my list. So whoever recommended this, you know my taste. All right, and the last one that I have for this video, and again, if you didn't see your recommendation pop up, do not fret, I will be doing more of these videos in the future, so it will probably show up in a future video. But the last one that I have is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendara Blake. So I know that she did the 3 Dark Crowns series that's really, really popular right now. And I think that this was her first published duology. It's a duology. And I know that it's not as popular as her 3 Dark Crowns one. It sounds like this one is more of a horror kind of young adult, which I do love me some horror, so my interest is piqued. Oh my god, this is a really hard sentence to say. Cass Lowood has inherited an unusual vocation. He kills the dead. So did his father before him, until he was gruesomely murdered by a ghost he sought to kill. Now armed with his father's mysterious and deadly Atham, Cass travels the country with his kitchen witch mother and their spirit-sniffing cat. Spirit-sniffing cat? I'm in. They follow legends and local lore, destroy the murderous dead, and keep pesky things like the future and friends at bay. This sounds awesome. So I love the sound of this. I think it sounds really, really good. I have heard a couple people talk about it, but just not a whole lot. And I don't even remember. It must have been quite a long time ago that I saw people talk about it. So I definitely want to get to this one. I just love ghost stories so much. I think this sounds really, really cute. So definitely on my radar. So thank you to whoever recommended it. So that's all for this video today. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you all found maybe a new series or book that you want to pick up out of this. Today's Booktuber shout-out is going to go to Stephanie over at Stephanie's Bookiverse. I love her channel. She just did the most awesome video where she took a whole decade's worth of books and picked out one from every year of that decade. So like all the way from 2010 to 2020. And she read all of these books and then ranked them. It was such an awesome video that I'm gonna link down below because I loved it. I have not seen anyone do something like that. So I thought it was just really clever, and she totally deserves more love on her channel because she does these really cool ideas. She has great recommendations. She reads all the genres. I feel like her reading tastes are very kind of similar to mine because we just read all the genres, not just fantasy, but all of them. So I love her channel. Definitely go check it out if you're looking for new people to subscribe to. I highly, highly recommend it. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I release new videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, bye.